welcome to this interview with myself, Tanya van Lille, CEO of Savca. And in the room, I've got Nonkululeko Kumanyane with me. She's managing partner and co-founder of Digital Africa Ventures. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what venture capital investors are looking for, particularly in a post-COVID era. Welcome, Nonku.
Hi, Tanya. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm going to start with the first question. And my first question to you is, how has the industry been impacted by COVID?
I think we can definitely admit that COVID was a large curveball, not just to investors, but to also entrepreneurs. So there was a short-term effect in terms of our ability to deploy capital. A lot of investors had to almost, sit on their hands, just monitor the industry, assess what was happening, but also stabilize some of their portfolio companies that they had at the time. So it was a big impact for us as well. But I think the biggest impact was to the entrepreneurs themselves. Some of the businesses were launching new technologies, introducing new product lines. So that was very challenging. And some of them didn't make it, if we're honest. So it also acted as a filter in terms of which businesses would survive and which businesses would not. So I think the impact is still felt today, but the activity has increased, the excitement is back. And I think entrepreneurs are now looking at COVID as an opportunity, just given the year they had previously and what they can do and how they can further innovate on their businesses. So that's also been a good change to see.
And it seems like the venture capital industry and specifically the entrepreneurs have been very resilient. But my next question relates to the topic that we are here for today is, what does a VC investor typically look for in an entrepreneur or in a business that they're going to invest in?
Yeah. So maybe just to continue on that train in terms of what we've seen as a change since COVID, a lot of the businesses that we're seeing pre-COVID were, enterprise solutions, marketplace platforms. Fintech was still the most dominant industry. And then there was a bit of a quiet period where, businesses were trying to reinvent themselves. So there wasn't a lot of activity. Post, I would say, when the market started to come back and people started to, leave their homes again and were comfortable engaging with each other, the industries that we started to see and ones that we are finding particularly interesting are productivity management platforms and solutions. So how do you connect remote working? How do you monitor? How do you incentivize your employees? Health tech, mental wellness, mental checks. How do we make sure we're keeping our employees and partners, safe and healthy and motivated? Fintech has still been a big industry. So you're still seeing a lot of innovation coming from there. How do you bridge the dual economies? How do you get more people connected? How do you reduce transaction fees that people typically have to pay to be able to participate in the economy? So those are the industries that we started to see a shift and growing. And those are the industries that we are liking. And the reason for that is, they address three questions that we ask ourselves. What is the solution? So what are we solving for? Is this a real problem? Because what we used to see is there was a lot of innovation because there was room for innovation. But if you looked at the problem, the market was fairly small for that specific innovation. Now you're seeing entrepreneurs really leading the charge in terms of the difficult industries, the difficult challenges that we experience day to day, and coming up with really dynamic solutions. So that's the first part that we look for. The second one, which is also important for us, is what is the impact of the solution for the end user? What is the impact for the corporate that's incorporating the solution within the products and value-added services that they already provide? How does this impact the customer at the end of the day? And also then how does it impact their network? Because it's always a network effect, right? It's a ripple effect in terms of when you're providing real value to people's lives, you almost see it transcend them into, the people they live with, the people they engage with. And then the last one we look at is, can we add strategic value? Can we add real value outside of the capital? The capital is the easy part because that's what we have. That's our job to deploy. But outside of that, what else can we add that can really drive growth for this business? How can we support the entrepreneur? Because entrepreneurship is typically a very lonely experience. So how can we add ourselves into the team of this entrepreneur? Do we share the same vision and values, strategy? Do we see the world the same? And we're not saying, do we see it in a narrow lens? Let's all dream big, but are we all together on the same boat? Because the one thing you don't want to do is to start a journey and then halfway through realize that you're actually on different boats going to different destinations. Because this is outside of an investment, it's a partnership. And you're going to be in this business for a long time. So you need to be sure, what are you adding to this business outside of the capital?
So there definitely needs to be alignment between the VC investor and the ultimate company that will receive the investment. And the VC investor brings not only capital to the table, but brings a whole lot of expertise and experience that the entrepreneur can tap into. So what would be your advice for an entrepreneur when they're looking for VC investment? What should already be in place in the business when they approach a VC investor?
Yeah. I think for us, what we like to see and where we add a lot of value in businesses that we will ultimately look to invest in, and businesses that we support the entrepreneur but are not quite ready, because we are an early stage venture capital firm. That means we are the first investor they're engaging with. So they don't have a fully developed value proposition document. They don't have a data room. And we really have to spend time and invest in that entrepreneur, just explaining, what do we look for? What do we need from documentation, from a team collaborative perspective? What do your team members need to bring to the party? Why do we want to speak to your CTO? Because I think that's the part that people take for granted. That first time entrepreneurs that are raising capital for the first time, there are a lot of gaps. There's a big knowledge gap. And if we looked at a checklist, and if you didn't have 10 of the things that we needed on a 20 list checklist, you'll quickly fall out of what investors look for. So we spend a lot of time just going through, what does a DD entail? Start getting that information ready for us very early on. And this helps them with the next conversation, because it's almost like pitching. You get better at pitching the more you do it. And you get better at engaging with entrepreneurs the more you do it. So for us, that's really important. But what we've started to see is a lot of the typical seed profile entrepreneurs, so it's their first funding round. They've proven product market fit. They've got market validation. They need capital to refine their solution. They need to grow their team. They would have spoken to other entrepreneurs, other founders who've got key knowledge or lessons learned that they impart to them. So what we're finding is that they come to us, they already know what the gaps are, which is very critical in any discussion that you're having with an entrepreneur, because you don't want to be the one pointing out everything that's missing. So they come to us with this: these are my gaps, and this is where I need the support and the help, which makes it, quite a vulnerable conversation, but an open and honest conversation, because that's what we come to assist with. And then your more sophisticated Series A type of entrepreneurs, they've gone through this a few times. Their data room is, fully stacked. You've got all the information there. You really just have to go through the information. You're mining to really understand, where's the business, where's the team, what are the potential red flags that you're not seeing at the surface. So that's what we're seeing. And I think what we've started to do with the entrepreneurs that don't have the information, we are your testing point. So we give you the checklist to say, go and get all of the stuff. And if the stuff there that you don't understand, come back to us. Let's workshop around. What does this mean? Why is it important? Because I think that's also the part that we don't spend enough time, is explaining the why. They see you as this firm that has so much capital, just give me money. I've got this vision. I've got this dream. Why are you making it so difficult? And I think just taking a step back, to really explain your thought process, your methodology, why things matter to you, makes the conversation so much easier and so much smoother moving forward.
So your advice would be, have an idea of what a typical VC investor due diligence perspective, look at what your gaps are, your solution, what impact you're making, but have the nuts and bolts in place in terms of your financials and any other kind of information that an investor would find of benefit. Nonkululeko, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your pearls of wisdom, and also the offer for entrepreneurs, if they want to learn more about that checklist and learning from it, to reach out. Appreciate your time and good luck with this year's investments.
Thank you so much. We actually have an announcement circulating, so look out for that. We closed our first transaction in March into Triplo as a logistics tech platform. We're really excited about that. So as soon as you see it, just give us a retweet, a like.
Congratulations, and thank you so much for supporting the local industry.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Thank you so much for having me.